The following is presented by the National Federation of the Blind of South Carolina.
Live the life you want, nobody can stop you. Shoot for the sun and break on through. So you're blind, you'll be fine, we got good news. You can live the life you want, yes, we know the truth. Grab a cane, get trained, gotta get moving.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Steve Cook, and I am president of the Computer Science and Technology Division with the NFB of SC, and I appreciate everybody taking time out of their Saturday morning to join us. While we're here in the beginning, I would also like to invite you to our Friday night movies on the first and second Friday of each month, as well as on the third Friday of the month. We have trivia that everyone is welcome to join. If you would like to be on an announce-only list about these events and movies, feel free to send me an email at stevecook.nfb@gmail.com. And you can also find the Computer Science and Technology Division on YouTube by looking for SC Computer Science and Technology Division. And we would appreciate you subscribing to our channel. And here in South Carolina, we always also have a podcast called National Federation of the Blind of South Carolina. And all of that is spelled out as well. We have some good content on there. So take a look at that and subscribe to our podcast. And today's presentation is on BlindSquare. I've had this out for several years. I'm not even sure what the price in the App Store is now, but when I purchased it, it was $29 and change, and that was a wonderful $30 spent as far as GPS apps are concerned. And this morning, we have, I apologize, Hilga, if I mispronounce your name. I've already messed up this morning once with it, but feel free to introduce yourself and any other presenters that are with you this morning.
Yes, hello. So my name is Ilkka Pirttimo, and I'm from Finland, and I'm an application developer and creator of BlindSquare application. And yeah, BlindSquare, I created BlindSquare 11 years ago, and I will give an introduction what the product is, how it was developed, how I have pushed it forward together with my great end users. And then on the last part, I will then cover what next, what needs to be done next, and what I'm working currently. So that was brief introduction. And how much do we have time, and how we like to proceed here?
All right, we have up to an hour, and feel free to either stop your presentation and we can take questions on what you presented so far, or we can take questions at the end. I always let the presenter decide on that.
Okay. For me, it's okay if someone has something to ask. Just open your mic and do it freely. But I will start presenting, and feel free to interrupt. And yes, let's go that way.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Can I ask something
Yes.
already, please? Good morning. My name is Jean Wallenstein Melfert. I am in New Jersey. Thank you very much for this presentation. I remember I did download the BlindSquare application some times ago, probably like 5, 6, 7 years ago. and I was exploring it, and at some point it stopped working. I can't remember, and I got discouraged or I got disinterested in it. But when I saw this presentation, I really wanted to know more about it. So I'm wondering if we are allowed to download it from the App Store and then pay a subscription. How does it work?
Yeah.
Why did it stop working? Thank you.
Let's start after that. So BlindSquare is one-time purchase. So I have been asked to make it a subscription because I do have users that has used it for more than 10 years and they are loving it, and they are kind of saying that they did pay 10 euros or 10 US dollars. It is currently $39 US. It is one-time fee, used forever. And if you have once downloaded it App Store, stopped using, you can go to download it again. App Store often makes you kind of, it says buy it, but if you are using same App Store account, it will then say, hey, this is free for you. You have already purchased this. So it is really one-time payment and used forever. And if you are in Canada, we do have an app called BlindSquare Event that is actually free download from App Store. And since we are working together with CNIB, they are kind of sponsoring it free for whole Canada. So you can download a BlindSquare Event free, and it is basically same application. There is some small differences. For example, there is no a cappella voices because I need to pay license for a cappella, so I can't give that free, but BlindSquare Event can be used. Why it did stop working, I can't be sure. Maybe support for some older device went back, but in practice, I have been always supporting very, very old machines and very, very old iOS versions, because in many countries, blind people might not have work, they don't have too much money, so they can be using really old device, and I want to support also that possibility. So currently, I have support for iOS 9, and we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16. So it is sometimes tough to support such old things, but maybe some older device went out from the support of the libraries I'm using. But try it again, and maybe after this presentation, if you find it interesting, you can then install it again and see how it is today. Yes, that was good question. And maybe we start presentation.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'm saying always that I'm pioneering accessible navigation indoors and outdoors. So BlindSquare, it is only for iOS. It is not for Android. I have been often asked why not Android, and I'm saying that I'm building this app alone, so I don't have a team of people, and I want to invent new things. I want to explore. I want to kind of raise the bar what this kind of application needs to do. So there is a lot of innovation. You will learn more about that. And it wouldn't be possible if I'm building Android application. That said, roughly 1 year ago, I started a new development where I have hired a developer to help to build completely new application that from the ground up, and it will then support Android and iOS, but you need to understand that it's huge task to build application like this. But now when we started from the scratch, I really know what the application needs to do, and we are building only the features that are important, and we aim there also to target tourists. So not alone blind people, but also tourists, because I think application that is producing speech describing environment, it would be awesome for any user. So that application is called Explo Ninja. It is already released in Canada and in Finland, but only with features that supports our kind of paid customers doing, let's say, zoos, museums, outdoor trails, etc. So currently it's only producing that kind of description. So in certain location it makes sense, but we will start adding features from BlindSquare. So it will finally at some point announce about point of interests and also intersections and objects. I will turn in later of this presentation, I will the data. So we will have some awesome data to be used both in Explo Ninja, but also in BlindSquare. Yes, but a few words about what BlindSquare is. It is a smartphone application, and it reads a lot of sensors. So GPS, compass, it can notice iBeacons nearby, so Bluetooth, accelerometer, etc. And then it reads out data. So it gets point of interest currently from Foursquare, soon to be replaced with OpenStreetMap, but currently BlindSquare uses Foursquare as its POI data. It is connected to OpenStreetMap to get intersection data. It can connect to different public transportation solutions. You can call Uber with the application, etc. So a lot of data coming in, and then BlindSquare massage that data and does some magic, so it can start producing spoken instructions. So it is really easy to use application, because you launch it, you lock the screen, put it in a pocket and listen, and it will start describing intersections and nearby point of interests. And then if you want to do some more, there are a lot of options to do it. And BlindSquare, it currently supports 26 languages, and it is data is globally available, so it is in use in 180 countries. So originally, when I created, I wanted to create it based on data that is globally available, and then together with end users, do translations of the application so that it can be used in anywhere in the world.
We have someone with their hand raised. Dennis
Yes.
Long, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself, please, and ask your question.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. 2 questions. One, will BlindSquare go on sale? Well, okay, 3 questions. Will BlindSquare go on sale? 2, is BlindSquare being completely phased out? So is it worth it to buy the application? And 3, what is the new application called, and when will it come to the US, and will it have most of the features of BlindSquare?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I get the answer right, because BlindSquare is live and kicking, continuously developed.
Okay.
And I don't know any reason why it would go away. So there are some big changes coming. I will later announce what are under the development. But yeah, it is really under continuous development, has been within 11 years already. And of course, this kind of questions comes to mind. Certainly, we all know that Soundscape created by Microsoft maybe 7 years ago, it is now phasing out. It's going away. So of course, there are possibilities that when companies do something at some point, it will go away. And yeah, there is no reason why BlindSquare would go.
Are you planning
away.
to bring BlindSquare to Android, and are you going to have any kind of sale on BlindSquare?
Yep. So I actually mentioned that we are building application called Explore Ninja. It is our kind of done in a new tools that we can get both Android and iOS versions with one application. And as I said, it is many years project. Currently, it's already available, but only with some features for national parks.
Okay, so eventually, if I understand it, then eventually Explore Ninja will be what BlindSquare is today. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, I could say, but certainly we don't need all the features from BlindSquare. BlindSquare is really Swiss nice of everything. It does weather service and calls Ubers and can announce of trains coming and etc. So I think it is kind of too much for average user. So now we are kind of looking what are the features that are used, and let's make an application that then does those really well.
The danger of taking good maps went this route and took away too many features that users relied on. So there is a danger in taking away features. Maybe leave them optional for the users that rely on, say, train stops or certain other features.
Yep, that's true. And then we need to remember that when you are making an application that is globally available, we need to build stuff that is then globally really available. And public transportation is something that, for example, in Finland, I have awesome support. It sees live locations of the trains and buses and trams and metros and ferries, etc., and can announce really accurate. But that's my kind of sandbox where I kind of create ultimate experience. And then I can say to public transportation company, why you don't have such APIs that we have here in Finland? So I think this is awesome place to develop, because in Finland we really have a lot of great data available, and city of Helsinki, for example, is producing accessible data of their premises, and it makes possible to do something that will never be available globally. But yeah.
Awesome. Will BlindSquare go on sale at all for even a limited time this year? Are you planning to run any kind of discount?
Yeah, we have done a White Cane Day discount, for example, etc. So we have not planned anything yet, but yeah, that might happen.
Is there a way I can be notified if that happens? Do you have any kind of email list where you send that out to?
Yeah, we do have mailing list, and in a web page, I will shortly take a look.
All right, thank you.
And certainly we will email there if you or your friends would like to get discounted application, we can announce.
And we have one more question. Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
Vincent,
Thank you.
Vincent, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, Ilka, and thank you, Steve. I just wanted to tell the person who was asking those questions, there is a listserv, BlindSquare GPS, where people ask questions, and people from all over who are experts on using BlindSquare will answer those questions. And I've been using BlindSquare for years, and it is a tremendous app. And Ilka is posting on the listserv all the time, answering questions. So if you get BlindSquare, whether it's on sale or not, it's a great app and it's worth the money, and there's tons of support for it.
Agreed here as well.
I totally agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And I share you instructions how to subscribe. So just send blank email to BlindSquare GPS plus subscribe at groups.io. So it was BlindSquare GPS plus subscribe at groups.io. Just blank email there, and you will be then on a mailing list. And there you can see also follow if we have problems. We did have a problem a couple of weeks ago caused by Uber did some changes on their part, and then we did have another problem that was related to directions what we are getting from the GPS. But with help from the community, I was quickly noticed, and it was pretty quick fix. And yeah, when we are doing new stuff and building new stuff, sometimes might happen something, but it's part of the game that we are developing this, and we will also fix the problems if there are any.
That's all the hands raised for now. You may proceed.
Okay. Yeah, and this is good way. Just raise your hand and we can take questions. I can tell a couple of stories and from there you understand better how this application has, how I have been able to create it, because 11 years ago, I didn't know even any blind people person. So I kind of came outside from this area, and I have learned everything. And my thinking first was that if I can make an application that can produce spoken instructions, and it can connect to all kind of data, maybe I can give a description of environment in a way that even blind person would benefit from that. So that is where I started. And those days, for example, application couldn't even produce speak on the background. So I had to buy license from a Swedish company called Acapella to make this even possible. So I was in a game kind of in early days. And when I built application maybe 1 month, then I presented it to Finnish National Blindness Organization. They liked it and gave me some end users to test, and just in a couple of months I did release the application. And 11 years ago, when you release an application that is paid application, it was maybe $10. I started to get a lot of response that this should be free and yeah, something like that. But I did get first users. Actually, in 3 weeks, I did have customers from 30 countries, and I started also to get support. So blind people did understand that this is great, and they started to help me, and they started to ask, can I do German translation? Can I do Russian? Can I do Italian? Can I do Spanish? And we did start work together and release new languages. But one of the users in Finland called Ronia, I read his blog postings, and that was one of the backgrounds how I did know what to do. I did read many blind persons Twitter feeds and also blog postings. So I learned about real difficulties in daily life and started figuring out what kind of application would help. But Ronia, she's 100% blind, but at her early age, he did have some vision, and she had learned to roller skate. And I then learned that now she's blind, but she's still scary. But in her blog she wrote that she had got lost when she was roller skating, and she used BlindSquare then to try to guess where she is by looking what locations are nearby, where are the closest intersections, etc. And from that I learned this is too complex. We need to do look around feature. So I created a feature called look around, so you can start turning your device into different direction. It then sees list what intersections are on that direction, and also what types of point of interest there are, and then list couple of most important ones. So makes you aware where you are, and yeah, that's called look around. And later on, some applications call it something else, magic wand or something like that. But it was originally created in BlindSquare. Because of this, I wanted to help Ronja.
We have a individual with their hand raised, and their first name is Lynn, if I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. Lyne. Go ahead,
Yes,
please.
Lyne. Hello, my name is Lynn. I'm from Quebec and I work for CNIB. So, Ilka, I already asked you this question on the list, and I never, I weren't able to get the way to use BlindSquare in the same time that I use Plan or Google Map, because when I choose an address in BlindSquare and I choose navigate, and it open in Apple Maps, it takes like some seconds to turn off. So the application just turned off plans. So I want to know, do I have something to do to be able to use, or it's the bug?
Yeah. So maybe I need to explain BlindSquare. What it announced is traveling direction. It announced intersection. When you get near it, it announces what intersection it is. It announces point of interest nearby, etc. But I have never created turn-by-turn navigation inside BlindSquare. Instead, I support all the navigation apps you might have in a device. So Google Maps, Apple Maps, TomTom, Navigon, whatever. In Korea, there's something called Baum Maps, etc. So the best maps that are done on different areas, and then on a BlindSquare, when you find a place you want to be, you maybe use search feature or you see nearby object, etc. You can then ask track to place, and tracking means that it will start announcing only distance and clock face direction to place. So it is often nice if you are pretty close to that place. But you can also ask navigate, and then BlindSquare detects what applications you have installed on your device, and it can then launch another application with coordinates where you are and where you want to go, and ask the application to give walking directions. And
yeah, it's the step-by-step, of course. But when I do navigate, Apple Map just don't want to stay open.
Yeah, and I have learned that Apple Maps, they do have a bug currently, and I have reported it to Apple. So if you go to Apple Maps and choose a destination and say navigate here, it starts giving also verbal instructions. But if you do it through the API, so another application is calling, it shows correct user interface, you can press start, but for some reason it doesn't announce them. And that's bug in Apple Maps currently. I haven't tested it in a recent version. I have reported it to Apple, but I'm not sure
But I
What-
have the same problem with Google Map, and I tried another way to use. I open Apple Map or Google Map first, and after I just open BlindSquare to get background,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work. I don't know why. I made a lot of tests because
Okay.
I talked with a lot of my clients. Some are there today
Yeah.
to listen. So
Yeah, and yeah, maybe we continue on the mailing list and let's find out if this is
okay.
uh,
Thank you.
to someone else, and yeah, it can be related also iOS versions, etc. But
Yeah,
let's
but
find out.
I'd like to know if there's some here today. They are able to use both together. Is there some? Or I'm alone, or I'm not alone with that problem.
Yeah, of course, I have been doing it, but I don't do it daily. So we need to see, because systems does change. But if there are someone who is a daily user of that, please
Yeah, of course.
comment. Yeah, but let's continue on the mailing list. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And one interesting story of feature that was created when a Mexican user told me he wanted more features to the shaking feature. So in BlindSquare, when you shake, it gives a description where you are. So closest intersections, if you are in a certain place, etc. If you are tracking a place, it will immediately announce its direction and clock face direction and distance. But he said that if a blind person in Mexico takes iPhone out from the pocket, it gets stolen. So he asked, please give me more features that I can use the phone in a pocket. And I was thinking, what would be the best remote controller for this kind of application? Because, for example, if you use Braille display or you have some fancy Bluetooth keyboard, that works only for the application that is running on a foreground. But very often BlindSquare is lock the screen, application running on the background. There are no remotes that would work to control application. But then I realized that if I make BlindSquare to act as a music player like Spotify, then I get audio controls from the remote headphone. So play, rewind, stop, pause, fast forward, etc. And I did create audio menu, and audio menu is something that is it starts listing features when you press play on a headphone remote, or you can have a Bluetooth remote for kind of, they sell remotes that you can use to control iPhone camera. So with that kind of remote, it starts listing features like where I am, at place, weather, bus, tram, metro, etc. And then when you press play again, it activates the feature. So for example, if you want to add your current location, you press headphone remote once, and then you wait until it says add place, and then you press play again, and it will add your current place by naming it. It gets street address and uses that as a name. So if you are somewhere and you think, I will want to get back to this place, you can use your headphone remote to add that. And later on, you can then track that place and get back to that. So yeah, that's audio menu. And I haven't seen such feature in any other application. Full of innovation. Yep, then we did have a user from Germany, and she told that if she had BlindSquare 5 years earlier when she was visiting Italy, she would have learned so much more and found restaurants so much easily. And I wanted to give a possibility to go back to Italy and see the location. And I created something called simulating a place. So you can search any place and then simulate it. So BlindSquare start acting as you were there. And then you can start looking what restaurants are nearby. You maybe find something, you may be reading tips of the restaurants, what other people are saying, and then favoriting it. So when you then go to that place, you already have favorites and you have kind of already looked what buses are available there, what is the weather like, etc. And if you do that, if you are planning to visit in a hotel, BlindSquare also downloads street information and point of interest, etc. So when you are then there, even if you don't have connectivity on that country, you already have cached data of the 1 kilometer radius with what you have simulated. So now nice way to plan your trip.
That's one of my favorite features is that simulation. When my wife and I moved into our home years ago, I had BlindSquare, and that's the way I learned a neighborhood, is putting in, our address and just looking at the streets and things around you. And that's a good way to learn it. And, if you're going on to a conference, you can put in the address wherever you'll be staying and go from there.
Yeah. And maybe that gives an idea. I'm sighted, but when we are traveling with our family, I use BlindSquare to find what shopping malls we should go. So simply doing first search, maybe some store. I know it is often in a shopping mall. From there, I then find what is the shopping mall, what is named. Then on a page of the shopping mall, there is a button, find similar places, and it will suddenly list all the shopping malls in an area. Then I simulate one of them, and then I go to shops category, and I see what brands are there. So very kind of quick way to browse. And I would never get that information from Google Maps or so. I think this is kind of neat way to navigate and learn about surroundings. And but as you can see, this is a really Swiss knife. So maybe to learn tricks how to use it, we do have a pretty nice podcast in app stores. Podcast, if you search for BlindSquare, you will find our podcast, and we do have a couple dozen of podcasts, and they describe features like this. So also instruct how to use braille display keyboard, how to do simulations, how to use Apple Maps, Google Maps, etc. Of course, some things have changed, but you get a general idea.
What
there.
What was the name of the podcast? I'm sorry, I missed it.
If you just I will take a look. I suggest that just open your podcast app and search for BlindSquare. It should show up there.
Okay.
Yep. I mentioned braille displays, but maybe I should mention that BlindSquare is also optimized for braille displays. So even deafblind users can use BlindSquare. So there is a special screen called Tools and braille display. And it might be useful also because it is basically kind of history of everything BlindSquare has spoken. So you can browse history of what BlindSquare has mentioned. But with braille display, you want to read what BlindSquare mentions, but what then how to start features. You don't need to use cursor keys or anything to kind of browse menus on the BlindSquare because BlindSquare has command line interface.
Just a little note about the BlindSquare podcast. I muted myself, and here in my computer room, I have one of the Echo devices, and I just asked her to start playing BlindSquare podcast, and she started playing one.
Great. Yeah. So I was explaining really cool features for the braille display users, and you can imagine not many applications would get this kind of feature, but I did have a deafblind user who really wanted to be super fast using BlindSquare, and I did create a feature that it detects keyboard and it detects command line interface. So you can write commands, you can write help, and it will list what you can do. You type weather, it announces whether you say add bus stop 100, and it says new point of interest called bus stop has been added with alerting distance of 100 feet. So it created a new POI with a name you gave and with alerting distance. And what it means is whenever you get closer than 100 feet of that bus stop, it will warn about that. So you don't need to track that place or do anything fancy. It is automatically announced because you have added a POI with alerting distance. So really nice option if you need to get off on that bus stop next time.
I didn't know about the distance part you could add to the points of interest. I'll have to try that next time.
Yep. It is kind of like I said, Swiss Army knife, and you can't know all of this. And I have heard that BlindSquare is too complex, and I admit it. But if you then learn to use the features you need, it really does have some useful features. And for example, a fisherman told a blind fisherman told how he's using BlindSquare. First of all, he adds own place to the dock where he lives, and then he adds couple of other point of interest around area where he is fishing. And when he goes out, he starts tracking all those three. So you can track multiple places at once. And now and then, BlindSquare will announce dock 50 meters, 6 o'clock. So you know it's behind me. And since you hear announcements of 3 places, you keep track of your location. And if there is a rock in the middle of the sea, you can add a point there and distance alert of 30 meters. So you will get alerted if you get too close to that rock. So
okay.
really nice kind of ways how to use these features.
We have a hand raised if you would like a question.
Yeah, let's take a question.
Go ahead, Paula. So you have your hand raised.
Thank you. My name is Paul Dion from Montreal, Canada. I'm one of Lynn's clients at Canadian National Institute for the Blind. And I'm just not sure I understood correctly. If I'm a pedestrian walking on a major street and I'm trying to find out at what location I am, what are the intersections, what are the stores or buildings I'm looking for, if I have my smartphone, my iPhone, outside of my pocket versus in my pocket, is it just as efficient when I'm using it in my pocket? Is the phone is in my pocket as if I have, or do I have to take it out of my pocket so that it has all of the features to give me more clarity or more information about what's around me? Is it preferable to have it outside of our pocket? You get my
No.
question?
Yeah. So basically, GPS works as well if it's in your pocket. So I suggest using front pocket because when you stop walking, BlindSquare starts using GPS, and then it's beneficial if it's facing screen towards you and back of the device facing forward. But as long as you are walking, and as long there are not too tall buildings around you, so BlindSquare get your direction based on the GPS changes. So it nowadays it averages 4 last readings of the GPS direction, and that is kind of where you are heading. So the best experience is when you are walking, and it can be in your pocket, and yeah.
Oh, that's
and
great.
that yeah, then it describes next intersections, not when you are about certain meters before you enter there. So BlindSquare always want to give information a bit earlier, not exactly, because we can't guarantee that exactly. So you need to use white cane and guide dog, etc. And there's another reason why we want to announce things before. And for example, if GPS accuracy is 5 meters, it wouldn't be wise announce a place when you are inside that accuracy. So we really can't anymore say in which direction it is. So for example, when you are tracking a point of interest, it will try to announce it before you get too close to that place, because let's say 50 meters away, we can still say how far away it is and in which clockwise direction. And then when you get too close to it, so accuracy doesn't allow any more announcement, it will automatically stop tracking that place. So you really need to find the last 5 meters.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, if I may just ask, when you're inside a building, let's say a tall building, underground even, how does it track then, or do we lose signal at that point?
Yep. So BlindSquare always checks current accuracy. So if accuracy is 70 meters, you are probably indoors, and it doesn't try to announce exactly where you are, but you might hear that there are this point of interest around 50 meters away. So it will start adding about to the distances when it really can't do that. And then maybe you go to the category of shops and stores, and you will find what are the stores.
In my experience, it doesn't tell you, like if you have multiple floors, it won't say up and down direction either. So I could have a cafeteria on the first floor, but I could be on the 3rd floor and it'll still say 30 meters away or whatever.
Yeah. So Foursquare doesn't have any information of the floors. So
right.
Yeah, it is kind of and I will, in the end of presentation, I will tell what point of interest register I have been creating, and there we also have floors. So it will be kind of much more advanced. Maybe I at this point, I think it's good time to mention what I have been working for last year. I have been using Foursquare Places from the day one. I was actually first one who dared starting using Foursquare data. So it was kind of one of the inventions in BlindSquare, and also the name BlindSquare is partly coming from Foursquare, and yeah, that's the background of BlindSquare using Foursquare, and there has been benefits because Foursquare is a game and people used to play a game where they get points when they did checkings to the places, and BlindSquare is able to read a number of checkings in each place, and that's the reason why it knows which one is the most popular restaurants and which places are worth mentioning. So it has been great, but not so many people are playing Foursquare anymore, so Foursquare data is kind of degrading, and I often get questions that there are some places that are not anymore correct, but of course Foursquare does have ways to report them, but if not enough people are using it, they doesn't get reported. So I have been working to get POI from somewhere else. Someone are using Google Maps and Google point of interest, but actually each paid service, it costs a lot, and actually Google says that you are not allowed to use them in application like this. Someone are using, but they doesn't allow their data in this kind of application. And I have chosen to use OpenStreetMap. And as you might know, OpenStreetMap is global map data that is produced in open sourced way, crowdsourced way. And currently, today, it's so much more data and accuracy that in Google Maps. So if you look at Google Maps, there are no paths in a forest, but in OpenStreetMap there are really nice paths also, and bicycle roads, etc. In OpenStreetMap. So in many areas it's much more dense than Google Maps, and there are points of interest also in OSM. So I'm now reading those, but I'm also reading not only the center point of the point of interest of the house or of the shopping mall. I also read where are the edges of that. So where are the walls? So when I give distance, I can give distance to the closest corner. And I also know fences and stairs, etc. I also know entrances of the place. So, and I link them to the POI data. So if we have a shopping mall, we know where the walls are. We know also where the entrances are, and they are linked to the shopping mall. In this example, there might be then dozens of point of interest or businesses inside shopping mall. In OpenStreetMap, there is no relationship between the shopping mall and those places, but since they are inside of that place, I make a link there. So I link McDonald's and post office and that to that shopping mall. So if you then search for the shopping mall, I can list what point of interest are in that shopping mall, and other way around, I can list what are the entrances to the shopping mall and allow you to track or navigate to the entrance. So I think it will be awesome when I integrate into that data.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a huge task. I have been working more than a year just the server side to make this happen. And one more example, for example, park. It is not point of interest in OSM, but I have been able to make it the point of interest. So there are fences around the park or edges. So I then find center point of that and create a point of interest of that park. And I also know entrances of that, just like a shopping mall. And then I know what point of interest are then inside that park. So really something new. So OpenStreetMap, but much more than just point of interest from OSM.
We have a couple hands raised, and that'll be our last two questions.
Okay.
Ivy, I see you lowered your hand, but do you still have a question?
Go ahead. Yes, I live in Montreal, and when I started using BlindSquare, I went on a busy street with shopping on both sides. The way I was holding my phone was giving me the wrong side of the stores. What would be the ideal way to hold it? And if I put it in my purse, let's say the phone, what would be the ideal position in my purse?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, it is a different thing if you are walking or if you are standing still. If you are standing, then we need to rely on the compass. Then if the phone is in your purse, it is kind of hard to actually know into which direction compass is working. So maybe then you want to take phone in your hand and maybe to use look around feature to point device into different directions, or maybe start tracking a place that you are interested in, because when you start tracking, you can then start walking and you will get the announcement of clock face and distance now and then. So it's much more, you can rely it more when you are walking, and it knows your exit direction, last 4 seconds, next 4 seconds, etc. And it then compares the direction. So I don't have any straight answers, but I would just suggest that try first, look around, and then maybe tracking, and then finally, if you find a nice position to your device, how you carry it, maybe that helps. But I give an example. I want to nail what we are doing in Explore Ninja. So research we are doing there is something like, when you are walking and we know your direction from the GPS, we then know, now we have really nice idea of the walking direction. We silently then look what compass is showing, and we automatically learn in which position your device is in your pocket. And if it stays that way, it then knows that when you stop walking, how we need to correct your compass reading to really have it right way. So that is kind of extreme where we are going, and still under development, but that is my goal for this.
So if it is in my purse, it doesn't matter the direction it is in, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as you are walking, because as long as you are walking and you get GPS is changing, it gets direction from there. So it is good to understand that when you stop walking, GPS can still be kind of jumping around, and it can start producing some weird directions. So I would say that whenever you are moving, you can trust the directions more, and then maybe taking phone out from the pocket to your hand, and then using look around feature, for example, to see which is in its directions, or start tracking. Maybe that is way to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ivy. Guy, go ahead. Thank you for your patience. If you still have a question, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Do you have a question?
No, I want to just say good morning. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yep. So did we have any other questions?
Hi, this is Guy from Oakland.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I want to thank you for BlindSquare. I've been using it for 5 or 6 years. It's very helpful. You said you were going to mention some big changes coming, and I'd hear a little bit about those, and particularly if now that Soundscape codes are open source, if you're going to try and incorporate when a person gets to an intersection that not sure what they call it, the 3D feature where it references, Jones Street to the left,
Yep.
Jones Street to the right, Smith Street straight ahead, or something
Yep.
like that.
Yeah, I love that question, and of course, we all would have wanted a soundscape to continue.
Yes.
But the day one it was released, I really read all its source code, so I understand what they did, and I have learned some things that were kind of copy what I have done, and they have raised the bar a bit, and then I love to see how they have kind of gone even further on that. Soundscape, by the way, it was never available in Finland, but now, since it's open source, I have compiled my own version that works now in Finland, so I can use it and test it. And also in the mailing list, I have been asking what are the most important features that you would like to see in BlindSquare, and certainly I'm going to provide something. And I mentioned that I'm bringing OpenStreetMap data, and I mentioned point of interest, but I'm also bringing in intersection information, and in a richer form that it has never been seen in applications like this. So in a current BlindSquare, I only know intersections by the name and center point, and I don't know even the directions. But now, with my own data generated from OpenStreetMap, I do know exactly what the streets are, in which direction they go, how wide there are, what is the surface, if it's asphalt, tarmac, etc. What else I don't know? Also, names, roads and streets without names. So I know service roads, I need know bicycle paths, etc. And as I mentioned, in the middle of the forest, there are paths. Those are intersections also. So I can then describe a wide turn, bicycle path, 2 meter wide bicycle path, 2 o'clock, and gravel road continues 11 o'clock. So that will be next huge improvement in BlindSquare that I will bring in much more richer intersection information, and that is something I'm currently developing, and it will also continue to work when you are traveling in a car. So even if you're going 100 miles per hour, it will kind of widen its area it's looking, and it will announce still basics of the streets. It will also tell about tunnels and bridges. It will tell if the bridge is over you or a tunnel is going down under of your route. Yeah. So and also 3D sound. Soundscape is very well known of capability to use 3D sound. So if you have especially Apple AirPods that support 3D sounds and head tracking, you can select to hear places in a direction where they actually are. So not everyone likes that, and some might have some hearing problems. So of course it will be an option. So you can always get the information, what streets goes to the left, what goes to the right. But I at some point I will have an option then to use 3D sound for hearing sounds from the correct direction. And I have been able to write test applications that I can manage the audio like that, but then I need to figure out in which order I will start releasing features.
Ilka, I would like to thank you for your time today and thank all of our participants that joined us today. And with your permission, I'd like to be able to post this to our South Carolina Computer Science and Technology Division YouTube page, if that's okay with you, for others to listen that weren't able to attend.
Yeah, that's certainly okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And
This
I want
was
to thank,
fantastic.
yeah, thank you for everyone and really great questions. Thanks.
Thanks all, and hope you have a rest of the wonderful weekend.
Thank you to you people.
And thank you
Thank
so
you
much
very
for
much.
BlindSquare. It's
Yes,
just
thank
an
you.
awesome app.
Thanks for
Thanks.
Thank you very
developing
much
it.
for the presentation. Great presentation.
Thank you, Ilka. Terrific.
Thanks. Bye.
I keep